This past week, Tan Yi Peng, Deputy Senior Pastor of City Harvest Church, underwent cross-examination by the prosecution. Over the course of City Harvest trial proceedings, the court has seen that Wahyu Hanafi's personal guarantee had been backdated to the time the Extron bond subscription agreement was signed. Hanafi had testified during his time on the stand as a witness for the prosecution that he had agreed to underwrite the crossover project. The prosecution charged that this backdating was done to create the impression that the defendants had considered the interests of the church before investing in a loss-making company like Extron. Tan disagreed, explaining that when Hanafi had signed on the first bond subscription agreement, it was as good as him giving his word to ensure the fulfillment of financial obligations to CHC as Extron's director. Tan told the court that through his many years as a member of the church, Hanafi has faithfully fulfilled his tithe, which is a non-contractual commitment. So there was no question as to his commitment to crossover project after he had put his signature on the bond subscription agreement, which was legally binding. The prosecution then questioned the need to draw up a personal guarantee in March 2010, which was backdated to 2007. Tan echoed co-defendant Chew Eng Han's evidence that it was done to formalize Hanafi's personal guarantee for accounting reasons. When asked by the prosecutor whose obligation it was to repay the Extron bonds, Tan explained to the court that while the liability of repaying the bonds lay with Extron, Kong and he were responsible for ensuring the success of the crossover project. This was because the crossover project was a mission objective of City Harvest Church. Tan explained that although Extron had other sources of revenue besides the sales of the crossover album, a large part of Extron's money went to the crossover project, and thus Kong and he had to ensure that the crossover succeeded. If the project did not succeed, he said, they would then depend on Hanafi to repay the bonds as he had undertaken. The rest of the team would chip in to help him source for funds. Tan emphasized that whichever way the project went, they would never allow the church to suffer loss. The prosecution then put to Tan that because the drawdowns were controlled by him and Kong without the involvement of the Extron directors, the Extron bonds were thus not genuine. Tan disagreed. He explained that when the Extron directors signed the first Extron bond subscription agreement, they were agreeing to the amount that could be spent. That is, the budget for the project would be 13 million Singapore dollars. Beyond that, they left the managing of the drawdown schedule to the crossover team, who made operational decisions for the project. In trying to establish that Furner was just a conduit for the defendants to channel church funds out, the prosecution pointed out that Tan, along with Kong and Serena Wee, was responsible for arranging for the drawdowns of the Furner bond proceeds instead of the bond issuer Wahyu Hanafi. The prosecution's position is that money was never meant for Hanafi's own use but for the crossover project. Tan explained that they had to arrange drawdowns because Hanafi would not have known the necessary bank and transaction details to effect the flow of funds towards financing the crossover project. The court had heard numerous times that it was Hanafi's own intentions to support the church mission financially. As such, while the bond proceeds rightly belong to Hanafi, he relied on Tan and Wee to provide him with the relevant information in order to fund the crossover project. Tan told the court that just because Hanafi was willing to take instructions about making drawdowns does not mean that the money did not belong to him. Conversely, whenever Furner drew down funds, it was obligated to fulfill the repayment of bond proceeds, including the bond interest to CHC. Tan continues on the stand next Monday, April 13. For more information, please log on to citynews.sg. This is Jesslyn Koo for City News.